Hey everyone, it's David. Welcome back to Maximum Arrowverse. Last time on Maximum Arrowverse, we took a more generalized look at the very first season of the CW show Arrow. If you have not seen that video yet, there's a link to it in the description below this video. Go check it out after you finish watching this video, of course. Now let's get back to business. Today, I am ranking the top 10 best, in terms of acting, directing, and writing, moments from Arrow's first season. However, fight scenes will not be considered because they deserve their own list. Now, these moments in question may be highly relevant to the plot of Arrow Season 1, so it's time for that major spoiler warning. This is Arrow Season 1. Number 10. The yacht sinks and Oliver sees the island, Episode 1, Pilot. Okay, so I'm technically cheating with this one, and one other moment, but since these two moments are very much connected, I'm counting them as one. The sinking of the Queen's Gambit is quite possibly the first time in Oliver Queen's life that he has felt real loss, and it's a turning point in his life. It leads to the death of his father, his own disappearance for 5 years, and everything else that happens after that. Quite simply, if the yacht hadn't sunk, there would be no Age of Heroes. Actually, while I'm not really one for theorizing, this is a very interesting idea, so I'm sure I'll take a longer look at it in a later video. However, the Queen's Gambit does sink, and in the closing moments of the pilot episode, having lost his father and his former life, Oliver gets his first ever glimpse of Leon U, the island where he will spend several years of his life. Number 9. Oliver trains with Slade, Episode 14, The Odyssey. Now, I said no fight scenes would be counted on this list, and I meant it. However, I'm not counting training scenes as fight scenes, which is why this moment is here. Oliver's training with Slade is a crucial step forward in the development of his training over the next 5 years, and is also the start to Oliver and Slade's friendship, which is a great arc for the whole show. Number 8. Oliver reveals his identity to Diggle, Episode 3, Lone Gunman. There are a couple reasons why this moment edges out Oliver revealing his identity to Felicity Smoke. This moment is more dramatically done, it represents a bigger change in the status quo, etc., etc. However, the main reason is that this is the first time Oliver has actually saved someone's life, and it's the first step he takes from being the dark vigilante the Hood to the more heroically inclined Arrow. By saving John Diggle's life, Oliver risks exposing his secret to the police. However, Diggle doesn't turn him in, and in fact, he joins Oliver's mission. As Felicity's role on Arrow changed after finding out Oliver's secret, so did Diggle's role. Before, he was just Oliver's bodyguard, but now he acts as Oliver's ally in the field, and, more importantly, his moral conscience, something the Hood badly needed. Number 7. Oliver sets up the Foundry Base, Episode 1, Pilot. This isn't the first moment from Arrow's pilot episode on this list, and it won't be the last either. Having just slipped away from Diggle's watch, Oliver goes to an abandoned Queen Consolidated building and sets up his first base of operations under it. Preparing for his impending war on corruption, Oliver is accompanied by the gloriously and cheesy over-the-top narration of the first few episodes. Yeah, I can see why he got some allies to talk to as quickly as he did. Number 6. Fear Crashes, Episode 11, Trust but Verify. Now we begin to move from the good moments to the truly great ones. Thea Queen's love of drugs had been established since the pilot episode. She wasn't an addict, but it was a problem that was going to have to be addressed sooner rather than later. After she ingested a new and dangerous drug called Vertigo, Thea got into a car crash. While she wasn't too badly injured, the incident was a watershed moment for her and her older brother. Firstly, Thea's legal problems landed her in a community service program, which led to her maturing and generally becoming a somewhat nicer person. On Oliver's side, her crash led to him taking a break from his list of targets to go after the man behind the vertical drugs, the Count himself. Number 5. Oliver takes the polygraph, Episode 5, Damaged. When Detective Quentin Lance, Paul Blackthorne, is convinced that Oliver is the Hood, things get pretty dicey. To help prove his quote-unquote innocence, Oliver opts to take a polygraph in front of Detective Lance. The resulting scene relies mainly on the acting chops of Stephen Amell and Paul Blackthorne, and the two actors carry the scene magnificently. While this moment doesn't hold much character development, it ranks so highly due to the strong performances and its memorability. Number 4. The Hood confronts Firefly. Episode 10, Burned. When former firefighter turned serial killer Garfield Lines, known to DC Comics fans as the supervillain Firefly, targets the fire chief, the Hood shows up to stop him. It's not the first time Oliver saved a life, but it does mark the introduction of another DC Comics character, and as such this moment takes the show one step further in the direction of its eventual destination. Number 3. Oliver gets rescued and arrives home. Episode 1, Pilot. And another moment from the pilot episode makes the list. It's also the other time when I'm technically counting 2 moments. However, since these moments happen right after each other, both in the episode and chronologically, I think it's fine. These 2 moments make the first 5 minutes of the pilot episode, and of course, the first 5 minutes of Arrow as a whole. To be perfectly honest, I myself was immediately hooked when I watched these 5 minutes, and I'd be surprised to learn I was the only one. Number 2. Tommy dies. Episode 23, Sacrifice. Over the course of 23 episodes, fans of the show got to know Colin Donnell's Tommy Merlin well, and they mostly liked him. In the final moments of the final episode of the first season, Tommy tragically dies after he saves Laurel's life. Oliver was with him in his final moments, and as I've said before, Stephen Amell's performance is fantastic. The death of Oliver's best friend ultimately spurns him to become a better kind of vigilante, one that doesn't kill. And now, number 1, The Glades are destroyed. Episode 23, Sacrifice. Twice before in this video, I combined 2 moments that, strictly speaking, shouldn't be together. Now I'm doing the opposite. The destruction of the Glades and Tommy's death are 2 moments that are extremely hard to justify separating. Tommy dies in the Glades, and he dies because the Glades were destroyed by his father, Malcolm Merlin. However, the very final shot of the season was one lingering on the destruction of the Glades, and while it is a shocker that Oliver fails in his mission, it isn't a twist that comes out of nowhere. Destroying the Glades has been Malcolm's main priority for over a decade. It makes perfect sense that he would have a backup earthquake machine. It's a hard lesson for Oliver to learn, but the carnage that ensues shapes him as a character in a myriad ways. Now, before I close today's video, remember that when I said the fight scenes of Arrow Season 1 deserve their own video? You do? Well, that just happens to be the subject of next week's video, Arrow Season 1, Top 10 Fight Scenes. If you want to catch that video, click on that big red subscribe button, if you haven't already. Also, if you like this video, don't forget to leave a comment and a like. It's appreciated. See you next week. David out.